Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Anyway, today we're going to talk about Cuckoo Clocks and are they worth buying when you find them at a thrift store or garage sale or wherever. Anyway, normally I'm going to say yes, and the good thing is that maybe you want to buy it and try to fix it yourself because it does cost quite a bit normally to take it to a clock shop. So let me show you a clock that I received. It's a nice little clock, and as you can see, everything is hanging, the bellows and whatnot, and it's nice to have a price or know some of your prices on some of the stuff before you buy it. And also, normally when you have a clock that has the music people in it, that brings the value up also. If you happen to find an 8-day clock, for example, that's even higher yet because that's more of what people want, to wind it once a day, compared to this clock, you wind it every 24 hours or every morning or every night before you go to bed, whatever you decide. There, I feel better now in my red shirt, glasses on. Anyway, to get back to whether the clocks are worth it or not, you gotta decide on several things. For example, let me show you this clock here. Anyway, as you see, this clock is broke, which actually this clock here has fallen off the walls several times by the looks of it, or had one big major fall for the person that owned it. And so this needs to be glued back on, and it needs to be glued to try to hide all the gluing on it. But if you don't want to glue it, you can go onto eBay, and they do sell parts for clocks there, or you can go to an actual clock parts place, and they do sell the new headdresses and that kind of stuff. But here you're talking a lot of money. Also, this clock doesn't have its headdress on here, and to buy another one and try to match the colors, because they do sell old ones on eBay, that's going to cost you, if you're lucky, from 12 to 50 bucks. I mean, sometimes they're asking little crazy prices there. So that's another thing. And then you have your weights. Are the weights with the clock? Because there again, the weights are going to cost you money to either buy them brand new or to ship them to your house after you buy them on eBay, because the weights are very heavy, no matter what size they are, heavy for the male. And we also, as I showed you, the bellows. You have to repair the bellows normally. It's very rare you'll find a cuckoo clock that has the bellows still intact. And they can range in which you just talking about the top. If the whistle itself is gone, those are expensive. It's hard to find for a decent price. But if just the top of it's broken, you can buy that for 8 to 16 bucks, depending which one, what size you need, and this kind of thing. Now this clock, I will admit, is probably worth fixing in my opinion, because this clock, the works in it was, or that the actual clock itself was before World War II, and so it's a very old clock, and also kind of hard to find some of the parts for it, such as the hands, the nut, and that kind of stuff, because they don't sell the hands and nut. You have to kind of prefab it to make it work if those are missing. So it's kind of pretty much saying, try to make sure everything is here with the clock, unless you get it dirt cheap. And if you think you might enjoy a cuckoo clock, that's another good reason to buy it and try to fix it yourself. Or if you can get them cheap enough, if you break it trying to fix it, did you really lose anything, or did you actually learn something about the clock before you actually work on one, let's say, that was always in the family? So there's a number of reasons why you might want to buy a cuckoo clock at a yard sale, at an auction, thrift store. Just watch your price. Don't pay too much unless it's guaranteed it's hanging on the wall and it's ticking and showing that it works, and making sure it's got all the pieces that belong to the clock. Now, some of your clocks, or most of them you usually find out there, only have the cuckoo bird in it, and those are a very nice clock also, so you don't have the music man coming out every between every half hour to only, sometimes some of those clocks only do it on the hour, but it depends on how much noise you like in your house, I'll put it that way. And when I say noise, it's music to my ears, and eventually you don't even hear your clock, except when it's really quiet. You might hear it in the background. Oh, that sounds nice. So these are just reasons why I myself like them too. Now this is another example. This is the one I was just talking about. It only has the cuckoo bird in it, and this happens to be just a one-day clock. But you can see it's very simple, yet it's got the color to it. Most of the clocks you find are just going to be stained only, but the color itself, that's sometimes hard to find the right color for the headdress to match this. So that's what's maybe a little more difficult. So there you go. Again, it depends on the price of the clock. And this one does have the gong. It does have the bellows in here, but the bellows are broke, and so we already know it needs new bellows. So like I say, just slowly add the stuff up in your head. But let's just say let's just give it a quick guess of $10 for the pair of bellows, and they usually always come in pairs. And you gotta figure cleaning this clock is gonna cost you something, unless you do it the cheaper way, like I've mentioned in my videos, which I don't really recommend. But if you're only fixing one or two clocks, maybe it's not worth buying the actual cleaning stuff for the works. But you can use the Dawn detergent, but it's kind of rougher to get the works to start moving again even after you oil it, because it wasn't able to clean deep enough. But just saying, very nice clock. Say no head part here. Is missing a pendulum. And for a brand new pendulum, you can see it doesn't quite match, but because it's brighter. This here's aged looking more. And there's a chance you could probably take some stain and kind of darken this up a bit, get rid of that bright lime green. But these are things that you just have to play with when you're working on these clocks. Here's another nice musical one. The nice thing is, we'll say it doesn't have the headdress on it because this is a different style. But this also takes a pendulum, different pendulum design. It'd be more looking like this. And for this clock, as you can see, it's missing its hands. But being that it has the music people in it, that pretty much tells you it's got a music box in it, so you want to open it up and take a look. This here does have the music box in it, which is nice. These aren't cheap to replace. And it'd be nice if you could get to listen to it, because some of the music boxes wear out, and even used ones oh my gosh, they're expensive. I think brand new ones are something like $90. So there's your value in here already. And it did have the bellow or the whistle boxes. I have them out right now. I have to replace the bellows in it, but this one here, like I say, it needs new bellows, so that's another $10 there. And otherwise, this clock is actually in pretty good shape. It's not all beat up. The box seems to be pretty secure on it. It does have the cuckoo bird in there. Let's see if I push him out because this is a different one. So go ahead and, I'd say go ahead and pick these things up, and if there's too much work to be done in these things, you can, if you don't mind, if you want to sell things on eBay, parting these clocks out, people are dying for certain things. These people, a lot of this stuff comes apart. Sometimes they sell just the cuckoo box itself. So realistically, you can make money on these things almost no matter what you pay for them. Which I don't believe in it, but you can tear these things apart and sell them piece by piece and probably make more money on them than possibly you could with the clock totally fixed up, unless it happens to be the right one that someone's interested in. Now getting back to this clock, here's the piece that's supposed to go right here. I have to glue that back in. But to let you know how these clocks come apart, this here whole piece is supposed to be nailed onto the clock, and sometimes they'll have a screw from the backside coming in, but they'll still have places where there's a nail, and so that pops right off. It's not glued right onto the clock itself. And this clock, when it fell apart, they just started gluing it on, so this one's stuck on there. The bird and rabbit, they're screwed on from just this piece here that has to be taken off if you want to tighten that up. And sometimes these will have a nail so they have a screw in them, and then they'll have a nail to hold them so they don't move back and forth. This bird, he's already been glued in place so he don't move. But so this could be sold if need be as a set. If this was a decent face piece, it could be sold as a set also, or not a set, but a face dressing, I guess we'll say. Now, it's not worth taking the doors off. I mean, obviously you can see where they're nailed on with little U-clips or whatever. The pendulums, you can sell those things. You can sell those things separate too. You have your clips here. Those are usually pretty simple to buy, but normally you got to buy more than just one. You got to buy half a dozen of them or a dozen of them. Now I have too small of a weight on this one. So if you need new cuckoo clock hands, depends on the age of your clock and whatnot, and also depends on the length, but it's going to cost you about $5 just for the cuckoo clock hands. And like I say, pay attention, see if that nut's on there too, because you might have to order a nut to hold the hands on the clock. Your chains, it depends on the availability of them. They have the nice brass colored ones that makes your clock look brand new, or if you want to pay even more, they send you some chains that have, I'm going to call it the black look on them, so that way your clock still looks vintage, but it does have the new chains to them. Sometimes you're kind of stuck if you're in a hurry to get your clock when it comes to the chains, that you can only buy what's available. And that's what I had to do with some of these clocks, is buy the more expensive ones. And when it comes to the chains, you're looking at $10 to $15, and they could go up a little higher than that. Depends whether you need just 2 chains or whether you need 3 chains, because you have the music part on the clock also. On the weights, they range different prices. Like I say, check eBay, see what they want for them. If you have a Cuckoo Clocks part place that you can order from, they'll sell weights also, and sometimes it's worth buying the weights there, or at least check the prices to see if you're getting a decent deal on used weights on eBay. So anyway, those are kind of some of my suggestions on possibly buying a clock, using it for an experiment. I know people that have bought the Cuckoo Clocks not even knowing their value, and they didn't care, but they're a crafter and they wanted to rip out the works and doll them all up their paint, and I mean, that makes me cringe even think of that, but that's what happens with some of these Cuckoo Clocks. And because they just wanted to kind of like make a birdhouse out of it with their little flowers they glued on it and whatnot. So I mean, if all else fails, give it to a crafter to make something cute out of it. Otherwise, I think they're better just leaving them as is and trying to get them to work. So anyway, until next time, don't forget to subscribe. Go ahead and share this out. Remember, all this is free. If you guys need help working on your clocks, don't be afraid to email me, because down below is my email address. And if you do email me and you have a question, and if you can send pictures, that would be great too, to kind of help me understand what you're talking about. That would be beneficial to me. So anyway, until next time, we shall see you later, and come on back.